Flowing from the Ethiopian highlands, the Abai River, globally known as the Blue Nile, contributes 86% of the Nile's water. Yet the true story of Ethiopia remained in the shadow of global narratives. Egyptian elites also established wrong narratives as if Abai originates from Egypt. On the other hand, Ethiopia's construction of Grand Renaissance Dam also their issue as if Ethiopia is affecting Egypt. The true story is quite different. Hello and welcome to the show. This is Addis Dialogue from Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation. Abai is not simply a water alone. It is an identity for all Ethiopians. In today's program, we'll delve and examine how transboundary water governance is the contemporary politics and the contemporary issue. My guest for today is the former Adama Science and Technology University's lecturer, Dr. and Engineer Tilahun Erduno. I'm your host, Gzacho Derib. Do stay with us. Dr. Tilahun and the engineer also, Dr. Engineer Tilahun Erduno, welcome to the show and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Let's start our discussion with a very simple question. What is Abai for you as an engineer and who also conducted many research regarding Abai and the Blue Nile too?
Abai means peace. Abai means the basic resource for development. As it flows from Ethiopian highlands to downstream countries like Sudan and Egypt. Sudan and Egypt, particularly the governments of these countries, have been making Ethiopia their eternal enemy related to the utilization of Abai. So we lost peace in our country, in most cases related to this river. That's why I say that Abai is everything.
How it becomes a source of conflict, especially for internal conflict that Ethiopians face in successive regimes, especially a proxy war supported by external actors?
Well, that is a very important question to be addressed. You know, I don't know why these lower riparian countries can make Ethiopia their eternal enemy. Instead, it should be their eternal friend more than ever, more than any other countries in the world. It's impossible to get a money in your pocket without your permission, without your willingness, right? Unfortunately, the scholars in Egypt and the governments that come one after the other, mainly by coup, are not interested to deal with Ethiopia using genuine politics. International waters are administered by international principles. They always get out of the international principle, propagate us or want to teach us about the treaties of 1929 and 1959. And they want to stick to the historic right, which means Egyptians have been utilizing this water resource
for centuries.
Not for centuries, for thousands of years, without any competition from other side. So they want to continue this water hegemony forever. So that is the basic point where both countries, intellectuals, politicians, and government officials should deal with.
Abai is a transboundary water resource. How can we manage in terms of transboundary water governance and water management?
Of course, it should be managed according to the international water resource principles, utilization of water resource principles. Particularly, there is a principle called equitable and reasonable utilization of international water resources. But the main question is to be addressed is that, are these lower riparian countries, particularly Egypt, interested to come to sit and discuss about international water resource principles?
To the discussion table?
Yeah. They don't want to. Instead, they insist, their historic writers, they insist, they say even that Egypt is a gift of Nile, without considering that If Egypt is the gift of Nile, then Nile is the gift of Ethiopia. They don't want to admit that. I don't know what they lose if they try to exist in cooperation and mutual understanding with Ethiopia, rather than they go here and there like they are doing now. They go to Eritrea and discuss about the animosity related to Ethiopia. They go to Somalia, discuss about the animosity against Ethiopia. They go to Djibouti, and so on and so forth. So this water resource should be administered according to the international water resource principles. Let us see, for example, equitable utilization of international water resources. Is there any equitable utilization of international water resources between the lower riparian countries, Sudan and Egypt, and Ethiopia? No, at all. They don't want to even raise these kind of things. Instead, they stick to historic right.
What about the natural rights where Abai is originated from Ethiopia, from the highlands of Ethiopia, but Egyptian scholars considers it as Egypt is the source of Abai, but it is not naturally true. It originates from Ethiopia, where Ethiopia had natural rights of utilizing its water resources.
These lower riparian countries are not interested at all to discuss about natural rights, international principles, equitable and reasonable utilization of international water resources. They don't want to discuss about it. They don't want to even hear you at all. Instead, they propagate you historic right, right? They propagate you or tell you that Egypt is a gift of Nile, which has been said by Herodotus, who knows nothing about Ethiopia, the need of Ethiopia regarding these rivers. I don't think by now these all historic rights are working, because the population of Ethiopia, more than Egypt, is growing fast, and our demand for water resource at the same time grows fast. So in this regard, I think the lower riparian countries and their governments should think about Plan B.
Plan B?
Yeah.
Which means coming to the negotiation table or the negotiating table.
Coming to the negotiation table. There are plenty of opportunities for them to avoid their threats. But that kind of measures could be taken if
they are willing.
Only when they will.
If we take demographically, Ethiopia is the second populous country in Africa, and yet close to 60-65% of Ethiopians have no electricity so far. Among the Millennium Development Goals, which is also a natural rights as well. On the contrary, 98% of Egyptians secured access to electricity. What is your take in this regard? How can we manage where the two diametrically opposite side issues?
Well, I think a bit we have to go beyond that. Let us see why Ethiopia is constructing dams along the Abai Basin. Number one, 74% of our water resource lies within the Abai Basin.
Okay.
65% of our hydroelectric potential is there.
Okay.
51% of our arable land, cultivable land, is there. 50% of our population has no access to water, and 60% of our Ethiopians have no access to electricity. This should be understood foremost and the last by each Egyptian and Sudanese people. Ethiopia has not come out of the blue in order to construct dams. No, it is forced, it is compelled, and it will be compelled more severe than today. So that should be understood. There is no ways to increase the amount of water. They are not interested to work on it. I don't know why. You see? There is a method to grow the water. I mean, to increase the amount of water that is flowing towards these lower riparian countries. Any dam that will be constructed in the highlands of Ethiopia will create conducive conditions for the increase of rainfall. You see? The more rainfall increases, the more surface water will be available, which can reach to Cairo and
to Mediterranean Sea.
To Mediterranean. So they are not interested in working in this regard. By changing the climatic condition in the Abai Basin, you can create plenty of water.
The Green Legacy Initiative that Ethiopia embarked on.
Yes, of course.
How can Ethiopian exercise their sovereign right regarding utilization of this water resources, especially Abai, as compared to, or with a specific reference to GERD?
Well, Ethiopia has to continue constructing dams and dams and dams and dams. That is the only solution for
the only
Ethiopia.
solution.
I wrote a book, as you know.
Yeah.
So I have stated many things there. Ethiopia has no option. It can't exist in this region unless and otherwise it fulfills all the requirements that it needs from Abai. Ethiopia never, violated to the international principles. For example, we have no share at all, even though we produce 86.5% of the water.
Okay.
Okay? Let us see who is sharing the water. Even the 9 upper riparian countries have no share at all by now. Egypt and Sudan have shared it. Sudan is getting 18.5 meter cube, whereas Egypt is getting 55.5 billions of meter cube per year. So the whole water resource is divided between
the two downstream countries, yeah.
Whereas
the upper riparian countries,
9 other upper riparian countries are left zero. For what business Egypt and Sudan use this water resource? In addition to the traditional, uneconomic way of utilizing the water, they are using the water for rice, sugarcane production, cotton production, and beans, which require 24 hours of water. You see? So from all sides, from equitable side, as well as from reasonable utilization of the resource, they are not meeting the international principle, whereas Ethiopia is meeting all the international requirements. So Ethiopia has to use until it fulfills its needs.
Can we take this in line of George Orwell's book, The Animal Farm, which reiterates all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others? Assume a drop of water. No one can get a drop of water share of the Abai from Egypt, but 86% of this water comes from Ethiopia, and yet Ethiopia's share is so far very immense, almost insignificant. In this regard, how do you see and how do you understand?
What Egyptians and the Sudanese governments particularly don't understand is that the historic right that they have been propagating, or the right they put for themselves, is not right. That is what they don't understand. Rather, they have to come to the negotiable table and deal with the problems of Ethiopia as well as with the problems of their own. In that way, we will see what I have already said, why Ethiopia is constructing the dam. There are reasons. Why they are in need of ample water from Ethiopia also is in the table. Then, the most important thing that hinders people to not to come to the solution is that if you don't understand the basic causes of your problem, you can never come to the solution to the problem.
So the primary issue is identifying the problem.
Identify the basic causes of, not the problems by themselves, but the basic causes of those problems. The governments of lower riparian countries are not working on that. Rather than you see that the president of Egypt runs to Eritrea,
South Sudan,
so that South Sudan, Somalia, Djibouti, name it, not for sustainable development of Egypt. It is for bringing those countries to be an enemy of Ethiopia. This is a very naive and very poor politics.
You may be aware of the fact that the Nile Basin Commission has been launched, which brings together the upper riparian countries, the Nile Basin Commission. How do you see the contribution of GERD as a platform of solidarity of the upper riparian countries?
GERD created a conducive condition which is capable of changing the lower riparian attitudes towards the next attitude. That is what I call Plan B.
Okay.
That is, Plan B means, Plan B for Egypt means working with Ethiopia, being cooperative enough in developing the Abai Basin. That is the main solution. We don't need to bargain for the existing water resource. We should think as scientists, as intellectuals, scholars, and good, genuine politicians. We have to work on increasing the amount of Abai water rather than bargaining for the existing one.
Futuristic
Is it
approach.
possible to increase the amount of water? Of course, 100%.
In what way or in what sense?
For example, returning the Abai Basin to its natural condition. A planned afforestation program, natural afforestation program should be launched. Egyptian and Sudanese government should pay for that. Still today, they are not even interested to think about it. They are just interested on blocking Ethiopia, not to get its outlet to the sea, not to use its own resources within its territory. This is evil politics. Unless and otherwise, the lower riparian countries stop this evil politics and come to the negotiation table and deal with the problems of Ethiopia as Ethiopia deals with the problems of Egypt and Sudan. It's very problematic.
Very problematic. Appreciate it, really. You've said there has to be a plan before Egyptians regarding the fair utilization and equitable utilization of water resources of Abai or the Blue Nile or Nile in general. But the narration or the narrative that we are putting is it is Abai or the Blue Nile. Do Ethiopians, as per your suggestion, have plan B other than constructing dams to transcend the legacy of living in dark night or the right to access to electricity? Do Ethiopians have plan B, simply accepting and respecting the historic right which Egyptians wrongly established for millennia?
Never. Ethiopians will not have plan B in order to accept the historic right. As I said, historic right means leaving Egypt and Sudan to share the whole water in between them, and the others are left away,
aside or respected aside.
Yeah, that will not continue. That must be underlined. That will never continue in future. Ethiopians have plan B, of course. They are trying to have plan B. Instead of, for example, Ethiopia's plan has been that unless and otherwise we get loan from IMF, We have stopped everything related to the development of Abai Basin. We became able to construct such a dam.
Yeah, exactly.
The first in Africa. Then they have no plan B other than increasing construction of dams. Why? Because not to harm Egypt and Sudan. Because we know that Egypt and Sudan could be benefited much more
than the previous one.
Than GERD alone. Many other GERDs should be constructed here in Ethiopia. This is supported by Sudanese intellectuals. This also is supported by British intellectuals and American intellectuals. While, you know, Aswan Dam has been constructed in Egypt, in the middle of Sahara Desert, two scholars from Britain and America have complained about it.
Wow.
A wrong dam at the wrong place, they said. They said that this kind of dam should be constructed in high altitudes of Ethiopia, where evaporation of
water resource is
very less. You know how much is evaporated from Aswan Dam? 4 to 6 billion meter cube water per year is evaporated.
From 4 to 6. From
4
billion.
to 6 billion meter cube water
per year.
Per year. Assume. That is what GERD saves. You see, it has many advantages for Egypt and Sudan. The construction of dams could not be
problematic.
Problems for Egypt and Sudan. They must understand that. I even tried to communicate some Egyptian scholars so that to discuss what is the problem. Why should we follow the principle of or the politics of animosity, whereas we can work together for the benefit of both nations?
And let's put into perspective also again the issue of GERD with a specific reference to climate change. How do you see the contribution of GERD in terms of climate change?
Well, that is very simple and very important question, of course. You see, the more dams are constructed in the highlands of Ethiopia, the more evapotranspiration will be achieved, right? So, the more the water evaporates from these dams, and the more rainfall will be obtained. So, the more rainfall means the more
water,
surface water as well as underground water resources. That is what the Egyptians need. You see, if you construct dams in Egypt, particularly in the Saharan desert, if you construct high enough canals from which much of the water is evaporated, you get nothing. But you construct dams in Ethiopia means change the Abai Basin climate.
Okay.
You see, the growth of riverine trees will be encouraged. Afforestation program by nature itself will be again increased.
Besides the Green Legacy Initiative.
Yes. So the water that overflows from GERD will be increased.
Do you think or anticipate that Egyptian scholars will going to change their mind, accepting Ethiopia's stance of solidarity?
Well, of course, they will change.
Okay.
It is a matter of time.
A matter of time.
Because now they see that the water is regulated by GERD, which means they get regulated water throughout the year.
Okay.
Which means, in other words, Egyptian as well as Sudanese farmers have an opportunity to grow their crops 2 to 3 times in a year.
Per annum.
You see, in the past, the flow of the water has been sometimes stopped, dried out. Okay? Thanks to GERD, they will get the amount of the water that they have been getting
before.
through thousands of years, will continue to get. And the second, flooding will be stopped or minimized. And mud and the silt will be stopped by GERD, which have been affecting their crops during rainy seasons. And the evaporation of 4 to 6 billion
cubic meters of water
will be saved. So, through time, they will understand that, as I have told you, those scholars from Britain and
the US.
US said, they will understand the importance of dams in Ethiopia. And I hope, I don't know whether we will be
on the right track.
On the right track, or we will be, we will have a chance to get in that condition. But I think that there will be a social interaction, an economic interaction, and a cultural interaction between these countries in future.
Let's put in perspective a demarcation between Egyptian scholars, those who ventilate this issue wrongly, and other Egyptians, those who are on the side of truth and fairness.
Okay. Even if the number is few, of course, there are Egyptian scholars who describe the truth and who explain how to live in cooperation with Ethiopia. Of course, there are.
Yeah.
I always follow a program that is by Ustaz Jamal.
Yeah, Kings of Abai.
Kings of Abai, who always translates
the Arabic version of Egyptian politicians.
So I see that there are scholars who understand the truth. But Ethiopian diplomatic community in the Egypt as well as in Sudan need to work hard enough.
Okay.
You see, I see there is again another propaganda after the full utilization of the capacity of GERD. They will come with another problem. So far they have been dealing with historic right, treaties of 1929, the treaties
1959.
of 1959 and so on. And that Egypt is a gift of Nile and so on. Now they will change their mind again to attack Ethiopia. You see, in this regard, our diplomatic communities should work hard. We have to study. They have to present us the past historic problems related to the Abai River in the Abai Basin, particularly in Egypt and Sudan. Okay. If so, we will see. They will mention that GERD has influenced them, reduced the amount of water reaching their Mediterranean Sea, so on and so forth. But if we get, studies for centuries, how without GERD, how the Egyptian and Sudanese governments have been suffering of the water shortage, then we can resist them. We can justify from their own truths the way they come to be the on the opposite side of Ethiopia.
Good. By this, let's end out today's discussion. Dr. Engineer Tilahun Ernudo, former lecturer at Adama Science and Technology University, thank you so much for your time and for your analysis as well.
Thank you too.
This is really a very remarkable and appreciable discussion that we did. Hope we'll meet also with another topic that we're going to deal on regarding the Abai Basin and the Abai River.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. Dear viewers and listeners, by this we come to the end of today's show. As you have gone through in the course of our discussion, Abai is not a water alone. It is an identity for all Ethiopians from all walks of life who came together, who showed their steadfast commitment protecting and utilizing it. You can follow us on different social media platforms of Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation. Thank you for being with us. Until we meet with another edition of Addis Dialogue, goodbye for now.